So for most round-robin users, you can get by simply adding users to a round-robin pool, and LeanData will distribute records according to your percentages to the users in this round-robin pool. But there are some instances where you need to set up a mechanism, sort of like a pool within a pool. So instead of adding that subset of other users directly, you wish to add a group or a nested pool that will distribute it as if they were another user in your system with percentages accordingly. So there is no way to do this directly within LeanData, but there is a way that you can approximate this. So let me show you how. To do this, first we would actually need to create some kind of placeholder or a group. We can use a queue for this if we're doing this for lead routing pools. There's also a similar way to do something like this for other objects, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So for leads, let's go ahead and go to our Salesforce queues setup. And I'm going to create a brand new queue as a placeholder. So I will go ahead and click new, and I'll label this round robin placeholder. And then this is going to be a lead queue. So I'll select leads, and then I can save. Perfect. Now I'm going to go back to my main round robin pool. This is going to serve as my outer pool, the one that will contain the nested pool. But since I can't directly add a round robin pool here, what I'll do is I will click Edit Members. And then I'm going to take the drop down here and switch that to queues. And I will select the round robin placeholder queue. And this is going to serve as the fourth quote unquote user in this round robin pool. Now, I do need to select the next up. So I'm just going to say no change and then save the pool. And then what I need to do now is to create the inside pool, or the one that is nested within this main pool. So what I'll do is I will go back to my round robin pools main page. And then I'm going to click create round robin pool. I'm going to call this nested pool, just so that we can easily know what this is. And then I'm going to save that. I need to set this to leads as my object. And then I'm going to select my members. And within this nested pool, let's just put Doc, Marty, and Jennifer. Okay, and I will save this. So I need to select the next up. Okay, so now I have a main pool and I have a nested pool. But how do I make it such that records that hit that placeholder queue get assigned via this nested pool? So we can actually set this up in a Flow Builder graph. So I'll jump over to a Flow Builder graph. And a quick caveat before I proceed in doing this. In order for this to work, you will need to contact your LeanData rep and have them enable recursive routing. Recursive routing is something that we turn off and disable by default, but for this particular use case, you will need recursive routing enabled. So once you have ensured that you have that enabled with your LeanData rep, then we can proceed. So let's look at this. We have a node that assigns things to the main round robin pool down here. So 25% of the records that hit this pool will get assigned to that placeholder queue that we just created and added. And within that placeholder queue, we have 3 members of that nested pool that we want to assign it to. So the gap that we need to address is how do you get from this placeholder queue to the actual users within your nested round robin? And that's where we can actually go to our updated entry node. So I'm going to scroll up here to our updated entry node, and we will have to create a new entry edge for whenever records are assigned to that placeholder queue. They will get then sent to the nested round robin. The best way to set up this entry point is to grab the ID of the queue. So I'm going to go over here to Salesforce setup, and I'm going to find that round robin placeholder queue. The easiest place to find the ID is actually in the URL. So we'll just have to parse this URL a little bit here to find out exactly where that ID is. I should start with a 00G. Okay. And once you find it, you can just grab that ID. Then I'm going to jump over to my graph, open my entry point, create a brand new edge, and then this edge will initiate when something gets assigned to this specific queue. Assigned to round robin placeholder. Great. So I'll hit done. And now I need to pull in a round robin node. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll name this round robin pool nested round robin. And then I'll have to select that nested pool that we created a few minutes ago. Great. Then I'll simply connect this to the round robin pool. Great. So just to recap, assuming that I have recursive routing enabled, what will happen is that records that proceed through your graph, whenever they hit the main round robin pool down here, 25% of the time they will get assigned to that round robin placeholder queue. Now, once a record is assigned to that round robin placeholder queue, it will initiate through the updated lead entry point and then get assigned via your distribution within your nested pool here. So that's a way to approximate having a round robin pool within another round robin pool. Now, this method also works for other routers. It works for lead routers because we're using a queue here, but for other objects, you can still set this up even though you can't use queues. You'll have to use something else as a trigger and just use a user as a placeholder user. So you can definitely use that user by itself, but if other records get assigned to that user, then you need some other trigger. So I would suggest, along with the assignments to the main pool, you can also have like a checkbox. And then once that box gets checked, that can serve as your trigger. And then you can have some decision criteria to indicate that, oh, only the ones owned by that placeholder user will be then sent to this nested round robin. So there are a few extra steps if you want to do this for a different object, but the principle is the same. You're adding some placeholder to your main pool, and then you're using that initial assignment or something that happens along with that initial assignment to initiate it through a new path through your router graph that will assign it to your nested round robin. So if you need to do a pool within a pool or a nested pool, this is one way to accomplish that. I hope that helps.